Hi! Yeah. Welcome back. We're starting over here once again. And today we're going to be up and down a little bit, but we're going to do some things in yoga today which are covering the internal cleansing practices. The poses actually have this great internal elements of what they do in your body, but there are certain particular practices that are not necessarily done with poses that actually work internally. Okay? And those are called the kriyas in yoga. So it's one of the things we'll be covering those. And just initially, as we start this practice in that fashion, this is a season of allergies, and some of you may have a lot of allergies in your system. So one of the things initially, I don't know if anybody is familiar with this, but this is what's referred to as a neti pot. And it looks magic. It's very magical. It looks like a little Aladdin's lamp, so it's really a sweet thing. But this is really done in ways that it helps clean all of the nasal passages, because that's a very big trap for all the pollens and the things that happen in the world for us. Now, so basically what I'm really doing to use this is I'm filling it with basically water temperature, body temperature water, and then I'm putting a little bit, this is Orsa salt. It's actually a mineral salt, or you can use sea salt, but you do not use table salt. Okay, iodized table salt is actually a corrosive on your membranes, and so basically what you're using is something that creates a saline solution which matches the internal body's water. Actually, you are a saline solution inside. So you're using enough of that in here to actually do that. So basically, once that is filled in, I'm ready to rinse my nasal passages. I just tilt my head over, and it's not, because remember, your nasal passages are connected to your ears, your throat, all of these other sort of things. It has many connections in your body. So find this place in your head, and basically you're just inserting this in your nostril, and you're just tilting it, and be patient with this. The water will come up and down through, and it'll start coming out of the opposite nostril. So when this maybe is about halfway done, you just remove that. And it might be a little messy. Some people do it in the shower, they do it in different places. And then just go and you do the other side. Just in this tilting fashion, just tilt. And let it run out, and you may be amazed at what it brings with it sometimes. And as it's ready, and you're finished with that. Now, one of the things is that there usually is a lot of moisture still trapped in the nasal passages, and the real thing is try not to actually close the nose and blow, because if you've ever been underwater, that pressure, it'll go back towards your ears. You do not want to do that in your own body. Just be kind to your own body in that way that you do that. So now, just one of the ways to actually assist that is that bending forward sometimes helps. That gravitational work just takes it and helps bend it up and open for you. So that's a simple one, beautiful one for sinus infections, as well as allergic things, because of what it's really doing is cleansing the nasal passages, which can actually hold lots of things that actually create irritation in the rest of the body. Second thing that we're actually going to cover here right now. This is a tongue cleaner. One of the things that you may discover sometimes is that notice in the morning how your mouth feels. And this is basically best done in the morning, as before you do much else. Basically, so what I'm really doing is taking my tongue, and I'm hanging my tongue out, and I just use this as a tool in this fashion. This is stainless steel. They have plastic ones on the market. They are not nearly as effective as the stainless steel. So as that is open, the tongue comes out as far as I can. I reach way back in my mouth, and I scrape my tongue. I say scrape my tongue. You have this flat edge on this stainless steel tongue cleaner, and you'd be amazed sometimes what comes off, because sometimes in the morning, notice after heavy meals at night, the digestive process goes through its own thing during the night, and a lot of things end up in the mouth as well. It starts going in from the mouth, but it also ends up in the mouth. Okay. And that's in yoga, that's referred to as ama, which is actually that sort of breakdown of things that happens in the digestive system in your body. And clean, over a period of time, this will actually help. Hopefully you'll taste things better. Okay, the tongue will be cleaner. And a lot of times I know people, when I ask them if they clean their tongues, they say they do it with a toothbrush. that is not a great effective tool to do that. So tongue scraping is your best avenue for doing that. Like I said, best first thing in the morning. Now, one of the things that covering about this, we're going to actually come to standing to do this one, and this is referred to as nauli. Okay, this has to do with the intestinal elements in your body. And so many times we're squeezing when we bend, we do that and we affect those things. Now, but this is really one that kind of helps isolate that whole channel in your body. Now, I'm going to remove my shirt and to show you, because it gets distinct in certain ways that this happens. And as I do this, now mind you, you're at home now, so you have these other options to actually do this. So if you want to do it without your shirt on, that's totally up to you. Now, because we don't do that in the classroom. So now I'm just going to remove my shirt. And I will be putting it back on later, so, okay. So, but now, this is really one of the things about this initially, that I want you to just, now, your ascending colon is on your right side, so now just, initially, we're just going to do this lift and press. So the descending colon is on the left side, so you're working up like this and across, and indent. Yeah, you can really indent in that fashion. And over. Lift and over. And you might notice that I do this. If you notice my belly, it's not one of those six-pack abs that has this real tightness to it. It's this supple belly, but it's really strong. Right. Up and over. Just up and over. And one of the things, especially on the left side, that sometimes if you have a lot of gas, you're constipated, just push down like this, just using the hands and brace and push. And it helps stimulate things going back down through your body. Best done first thing in the morning, but if you're pregnant, do not do this, okay? You don't want strong contractions on the fetus inside of your body. Okay? And also, don't do this close to a meal, aggravated fashion as well. Now, here we go. We're going to start this next process, but here's really one of the beauties of your body. I want you to just take your hands and kind of cup them in. And just listen to your own tonality that you have inside. You might notice on the other side, on the outside, you go towards the center, it has different tones. But this stimulates the intestinal elements in your body, because you don't want things trapped in there. You want things to move out of you really smoothly and gracefully. So, now, here we're going to start this process, and this is done without breath. So what I'm really doing initially is I'm lifting, and why it's done without breath, because if you have a lot of air in the lungs are down here, and we're going to lift the stomach up in here, and what that's really going to do is start stretching the intestines in your body. And now, it's just done with the body comfortably, so you're not pushing down into it. Remember, just stay over it in this fashion. So I'm really just kind of staying over it. Okay. So now I'm just going to take a breath and forcefully push it out. So I'm just going to... Now, I'm going to lift this up into this hollow. So I'm going to lift the hollow up in here. And then I'm going to gradually let it come down, but don't struggle with this. So if you're out of breath, and just go like this. Just be calm in this fashion. So when you're ready to go, okay, let's do this a couple more times. So just follow with me. So I'm just going to take a breath and while I'm kind of drawing that up there, I'm not going to be speaking much. So, okay, so just be aware of that. Okay. Now remember, don't bend into that. Try to stay over this. Remember, we're just, because, yeah, if you bend in there, then you're creating that compression. You want it to be lifting up, is what you want to do with that. Okay. One last time, let's go with this. Up. Take a good breath, and then just let it come down when it's ready. Now the second stage of this is the lift and drop stage. So what you're really doing, we're lifting and dropping. So I'm pulling it up and then just letting it drop. Pulling it back up in that same breath when the breath is out. So I'm just taking a good breath. Out it goes. And then just let the breath come back in really easily. Just let yourself even out, and then we're just going to go into the second time. Okay, it's good to just do this repetitively sometimes so that you actually really get the hang of it. Okay. Good breath, and then just vigorously blow out. Suck up. Some people experience some lightheadedness during this, so just be aware of that sometimes. Okay, we don't want you dunk, 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 dunk. Okay, so there you are. So take your time in between so that things regulate and don't overdo once again. Okay. So third time, we're just going to do this the third time. Okay, a good inhaling breath, vigorous blow out. And easy when it comes up this time. Just regulate, let things happen. There is a third stage to this. Now this takes a little more practice to do because what you're really doing is isolating the intestinal walls. So what you really do is you move them back and forth. And as you move them back and forth, it's just like it takes the intestines and makes them work like a snake inside of your body. Even though they're very coiled in the way that they work, this gets them to stretch. The beauty about doing these kind of things is that the intestinal walls in your body move things through you. The more that they are active, the stronger that they are, and the clearer that they are, they actually help you absorb the nutritional elements that is in your food, and they actually help move things through you in a timely fashion. It's one of the things they actually have you eating fibery foods, so they tend to actually kind of stimulate the intestinal walls so things move through you in a good timely fashion. Because if things sit into you too long, they can actually start to putrefy. And in essence with that, sometimes check what goes into you, and sometimes I encourage people to check what comes out of you as well. Things go in, things go out. Hopefully that's the way that's going to work for you. You don't want things stuck in there. Now, the third stage, I'm just going to show you because it may seem weird and strange to you in certain ways, but what I'm really going to do is kind of wave the belly across in this fashion. So now, as I'm up, that good inhaling breath, and then I empty. Things are drawn up. That is really what it's doing, is as it goes back and forth, it's getting those intestines, like I said before, to kind of wave inside of your body. And I'll show you this once again, and then I'll show you actually how you can start practicing this at home by isolating those intestinal walls. So just a good breath up. Releasing softly. Now, just sort of the initial stages of how you can build this up to actually just entrain these somewhat. Okay. Mind you, this is really good belly toning as well. It really strengthens things inside of it. So now, as I blow the breath out, now you see how I kind of work this from one side, and I encourage the tissue to move in. So as I'm, remember the stomach is up, I just encourage this intestinal side to move in. Next time I go down, you see how I just draw it in, and then basically what you start to do is it comes all the way through, down, and up you go. Okay, sweet. Now, I'm just going to put my shirt back on, okay, and now we'll just go from there. So we're just going to stay up standing a bit. and just do some things from standing. So just let your breath and everything regulate inside of your body as we're going through this. Things still stay in place, good. Slight little tuck. You can put your shirts back on at home too if it does. Yeah. You don't have to, mind you. Just feel free. You're in your own environment. It's a good thing. Now, just give your body just some good shakes, and we're just going to move some things around because we're going to actually do a lot of good stuff with our hips today too, in ways. Yeah. Now, just this undulation of this, just move it. Get them to tuck. Remember, I've always encouraged you to be really wild. So okay, go. But that lift and tuck, so you understand that when things go in, things go up and around. And doing these kind of things as well actually helps get you to actually work subtly with something we're going to cover just a little bit when we're done with the hips, is this Mula Bandha. And now, go in the opposite direction. So just move it. So if you started this way, now let's just go this way and move them through. Just be good. Now take it in figure 8 fashion. And just notice when those hips get nice and wild, how much more of you wants to actually just be involved and just going. And here we go, the other side. Reverse that figure 8. And relax that easily back into center. Now I mentioned before something about the Mula Bandha. Now that's about the lifting elements inside of your body. Bandhas in yoga are called locks. They actually are something when you seal something. And the Mula Bandha actually is centered in the perineum muscle. And if you know where the perineum muscle is, between the anus and the genitalia. And many times they talk about Kegel exercises for women, a lot of times do that. And it's really important because it actually helps strengthen that pelvic floor. That pelvic floor, when it's really strong, helps energetically keep you strong inside instead of soft and weak and everything just moving out of you. Okay? It's actually just great to seal that good strong energy inside of you. So basically what I'm really doing with this, I'm isolating this muscle, and you're at home, so you can actually just find it if you need to. Okay. And now, as I do that, finding my own sometime, I gotta find my own. So now as I do that, so it's basically this subtle lifting. Once again, I draw it up on an inhaling breath. Just feel as if you're drawing it up. Now, I'm not squeezing my butt to make it happen. I'm trying to isolate that muscle. So up as I inhale, and then just as I exhale. So it's a up into me. So it's like just exercising that pelvic floor. So up and down. One more time. Just draw it up and then just let it go. Okay, very good. So now, here we are. We're just going to be from standing right now. Now let's just get these shoulders working just a little bit. Good dexterity in your shoulders. Big roundabouts. You got them all the way going big and round, and then just back and up. And here, then, now, just this little sweeping effect, up, contact. See if you can lift right up in this fashion, expand, down, and around. See if you can open this up so this really flares open as best it can. Back up. Closer to the head as the best you can. Stretch those tricep muscles and those armpits. Back and come. Open this up. One last time. And down we come. And around it goes. Now that it's here, choose an arm. Does not matter which one, but leave this arm like this. Now, just bring it across and see if you can actually bring this hand down somewhat here in the center. Now take the other hand up. And now just feel as if you're actually lifting this arm just a little more and draw it towards that center line. And if you can, let the hand kind of lay on the spinal area. But just breathe and lift. This really helps expand the side of your body. Good breathing elements for you. Draw it across. And now then, when you're ready, just easily release. And now it just becomes the other arm's turn. So bring it into that center spot as best you can and drape it down. And then when you're ready, just bring the other arm across. But now use this arm as a subtle lifting so you get the armpit to really expand, and then draw things across. Try to really open these shoulders up so they work really well. Those shoulders and hips, when they're really working well and they're independent, so many other things are in good vibrancy in your system. Open, become. Now just let one arm, maybe the first arm that you had, draw it behind you in this fashion as far as it can go. So once again, just drawing it in this fashion. So as I do that, I'm going to reach into it and just see if I can assist it. I'm not trying to wrench myself in that fashion. I'm just trying to get that shoulder to loosen. And then as I do that, see if you can fold this hand up your spine. So you're giving that elbow joint lots of flexibility as you come towards that center line. It may not reach it, and that's fine. Just so you get this sense of, so the shoulder has all this dexterity, so it's really important to actually allow it to find these spaces in your body. When that's ready, just easily release that back now. Here comes the other one. Now, create a big loop for yourself so you sometimes have some momentum. Bring it in. And then let the other hand just kind of help move it somewhat. Remember, you're not trying to pull yourself into shape. You're just assisting. And then when you get there, just see if you can fold. And just relax with that. Let that shoulder kind of hang off and down for you. Let it hang off and down for you. And then just subtly relax that as we easily bring it back out. Now just taking those arms out and across. Now, big swing, just a good big swing for you. Boom, across they go. Fold at the elbow and just see if you can bring those palms towards one another. Now just that good squeeze. So now, you're not trying to push your body in, remember. Roll those shoulders up and so that shoulder girdles down in your body. Now, squeeze the forearms together. So you're squeezing. The center part of your body is really squeezing. That way you're really moving. So as you do that, you really move the muscles away from the spine that have contracted. So many times you're trapped in there. Just good stuff. Now see if you can lift that up just a little bit. Try to keep that shoulder girdle down so things are relaxed inside of you. Now when starting to reach that height of that, elongate this arm. Now really have a boom, expansive hand as well. Don't be lazy. Don't bend at the elbow. And try not to turn with this elegance, but try to just elongate this arm across your body and try to feel that your shoulders are down. So many times when we lift one shoulder up, it's high and up towards the head. Try to keep the shoulders even in space and draw this arm across the face of your body. Really get these shoulders open up, open them up. Once again, try to not just, if you drop off and just get lazy in this, things just drop back in. Keep things elongating. And now when it's ready, boom. There you go. Really expand yourself. Now big momentum, use some momentum and just whoo! Other arm now, it's its turn to come across. Softly down, bend that. Try to get the shoulders relaxed and the chest flared open. So let that heart always have open space in itself, rather than pushed into your body. Open. When you really learn to roll the shoulders open and let that shoulder girdle come down, the space that shows up on the face of the body so things can really get deeper inside of you. So once again, start that squeeze. Just remember, work with your breath sometimes. And mind you, your body may not come together like this, so just do the best you can about bringing things in front of you. And now here we go. Out it goes. Try to have the arms even. It's really interesting that upper arm, the arm that's reaching tends to be a lot higher. Drop it down so it's even. So this way, because if it's even, you're pushing things into the head rather than isolating the shoulder and bringing it down. So see if you can do that so the shoulders feel fairly even, and then draw across. Big active hands so things go all the way up through your fingertips. Sometimes I have to come out there and just remind people to pull on your fingers. Keep those hands out there, keep them going, and try to just work this. But now, so many times we want to go like this. Resist by actually letting the shoulder blades feel as if they're moving towards the spine. So once again, you get muscles to move in different directions. That good body wisdom and consciousness that you start to develop. And then out we come. Sweet openings. Now just let the arms expand and be elongated. Now just spiral from the shoulders. But as you do that, open the legs a little bit and just get. Just stay in good breathing elements with your system. And now remember, we're not just flopping our hands. This action really comes from the shoulders. So you're spiraling all the way down. And now just easily draw that back to center. Subtly just let those arms softly drift down. Shake. Let those arms shake. And let other things shake too. If the other things come into shaking too as well, just always remember, give it a good shake. Now let's open these legs up just a little bit so we can actually just move across this space. So as I move across this space, see if you can elongate it, depending on your own stance, your own length. Just move across. But I want you to just feel as if you're moving towards this space, but really elongating back. Keep rooted in that back leg. And then just from up here, come right across. It's not pushing or straining, it's just shifting centers. And open. So you keep rooted, back across. We do this about 3 times each side. So you're not pushing into joints as you do that. You stay very centered and light in the center. So all you really do is just mobilize across. Just smoothness inside of your system. Now, as we're here, now just kind of sit down into this space somewhat. Let the arms just kind of come down here. But remember, we're not trying to tuck down into this space so much, but I want you to see if you can sit. The more, remember, tuck that tailbone forward. And you can, if those quadricep muscles and those start to speak with you, just tap them, just work with them. You're so full of rhythm, so I want you to create your own good rhythm that you have. And now, just begin to actually sit straight up from that. Let the legs now kind of just shake underneath. Just let that vibrancy move. Shake it. Now I'm just moving this arms up and down. Now I'm just going to fold one arm behind me, so let one arm fold behind you in that fashion. And this is encouragement, and I'll speak about that later, what that encouragement's about. Now sweep across. You get this good long elongation coming across. Now contact the outside of the opposite leg. Now, instead of pushing way down into this pose or bending down into it, come up maybe halfway, so you have this halfway element. So now you have that. Now, if you can, let the lower, tap that lower rib cage, that kidney area if you're in it, and let that turn into that leg somewhat. Now once you reach that spot, some people you can actually lift that arm up and elongate it all the way up, or you can certainly leave it folded, but just encourage this to move underneath you so the top part of your body rotates over that space. Just beautiful internal work for the spine. And then basically we're just easily drawing this back now. To come back into the center space about halfway. Now use that good tailbone. We talked about that tucking aspect. When you let that tailbone move in, you don't have to pull yourself up. The hips just unhinge and you're up. Up we go. Big opening. Fold in. Sweep. Big long sweep. And then contact down. Now as you come down into that area once again, feel, you remember you're not pushing way down yet. We'll get into some of that bending element later. But try to come up halfway and then rotate into that space. Get this lower rib cage. When you get that lower rib cage to rotate in, the upper rib cage just comes right up over top of it. So you get this beautiful internal undulation of the spinal column. Now if that arm wants to come up, let it do that. Try not to pull with that arm. Let the shoulder girdle be boom. Soft inside of your body so that you're expanded all the way up and through. Good breathing elements as well. Easy down. Easy down. This is one of the things, come up in that halfway position once again. And then just feel that activity of your tailbone just whoop, right through you and up you come. Now just a little side elements of this before we move into some bigger things. One arm just comes down. The other arm comes up. And now we're just going to start to go down. Try not to fall down into the pose, but stay turned into the center as best you can. Remember, let that under arch help. So the top side gets longer when that under arch, just like in nature. The underside comes underneath you. There you are. Creating space for everything to happen in your system. Really important. Rather than pushing down into things and compressing things, there's always that reaction, remember, when you're compressing and pushing into something. It reacts back. But when you start to build that wisdom and knowledge up, then we're just transferring to the other side. That when you move towards something, your body starts to build this beautiful consciousness about opening space for that movement. So you have so much less tension in your body, so much less compression, and things move around when they're happy inside, not pushed and coagulated inside of each other. It's so good. And now you're already expanded, beautifully expanded. Expansion just draws you easily back up, and easily just take the space. Now just from this, just easily, see if you can actually just bend forward from this. Remember, it's not this whoop, not throwing your ass out in space. Try to keep your ass with you, but just lift through the legs and see if you can actually just kind of this waterfall effect and just fall down into space. And now bring your hands down to the floor if you wish. Now some of you have this capacity, you can go out towards the feet so you can spread the arms out if you wish. But keep trying to lift in your legs rather than pushing into the floor. Remember, this element, even though we are in an elongated position, we're still in mountain pose. The essence of always expanding up. Now, here we are, just let your body bend. Now, sometimes people like to just let their arms hang in space underneath them. Just honor your flexibility with this. Now, just let the body kind of act like a subtle pendulum inside of this space. Now, if your arms are not attached, it's a little easier, so just let the body kind of have this little pendulum effect of just going side to side. Try to stay lifted in your legs once again. You just get the body to move in different spaces. Now, if you're ready, and if you can, if you need to bend your legs more to bring your body down a little bit. Now, we're just going to come into downward facing dog. So now from here, take one step back. Take the other step back. Let that head now subtly relax. Try not to roll those shoulders in. Roll those shoulders nice and open. Let the body be elongated. Easily go into those legs, easily, so everything passes through you. Nothing is being pushed, it just one part connects to the other. So everything just moves down towards the feet. Now, once you've reached that place, try to stay nice and grounded in the feet. Whether your feet are flat, remember, try to have good long positions in your body. And now just unhinge at the hips and come forward into plank pose. And remember, just try to have that good essence of how you are inside of plank pose. And then boom, pop those, that pelvis, just boom, it's so powerful. Just let it take you in that fashion. And back you go once again. Now this time as we come forward, we're going to actually move into something that's referred to as upward facing dog. Now as I come forward this time, now some people like to keep their toes into the ground. Yes. And some people like the feet flattened. But as I do that, it's the same thing. The legs are powerful and I just pull myself through. They stay up. But you see, it's a heart pose. Boom. The legs stay up and elongated as best you can. You're keeping that power inside of your body, but the heart, boom, boom, gets such a beautiful press out of this. Now, just rotate back, pelvis, boom, power, there it goes. Takes you right back. And now easily, as we start to draw forward once again in plank pose this time, here we are in plank pose, boom, down, down, knees down, relax gently into child's pose. Just let that pose just be a relaxing, letting go place for you. And now coming out of that place, just remember, if you have that tenderness in your knees, always honor that tenderness by creating a little more cushion for yourself. And now, it's in this same fashion. We're just going to come up onto our hands and knees. And now that subtle effect of, well, now we're just going to lift those toes up. Toes coming off and hips just swing. Just good vibrancy in that pelvic region. Just good vibrancy. And you just feel what happens underneath when the pelvis gets really active. How the other things just that are connected to it just get so much more alive. Now just easily draw that back to center. Now it's once again, we're just going to actually honor the spine and the pelvis just a little more and the shoulders as well. So we're just going to do threading the needle. Through we go. Now keep that nice arm. Feel as if you can extend as far as you can with that shoulder. And then softly come down over that space. Now some of you have that ability if you wish. Now remember, we have that balancing aspect of this as well. So if you want to lift that leg up. But remember, and when you're creating balancing elements in your system, always try to have something intact before you move into the next space. So foundations underneath of everything that you create are always create something that's beautiful that happens above it or below it. And when it's ready, it just easily comes back into shape. Things come back down. Softly. Rotate back through. Find your good center spots for yourself. And then we're just going right back through to the other side. Nice big reach. And rotate back. Just soft rotating back inside. Let the pelvis feel as if it wants to move. So it kind of centers. The shoulder wants to take everything. But now separate that a little bit by letting the pelvis come in the center. Now when you find that, you can let that leg come up, Try to keep nice and balanced. Remember, before you make subtle big movements, let everything integrate, especially in balancing elements. Let everything integrate, rather than quick just jab into it. And breathe that subtle, beautiful breath. Easily back down. Back into the center. Opening this up. Before we come back into this, we're just going to go into a brief frog pose. So just let the legs and knees really wide open. Nice long arms. Soft head, remember that forehead. Don't try to put the chin, but soften that forehead down. Open, elongate. Remember, it's that same thing as in downward facing dog. Try not to push down through your shoulders. Roll those shoulders open and extend through them. Instead of rolling them in, pushing into the head, that just compresses things. So extend all the way. Use that active tailbone so the face of the body stays long rather than pushing down towards the floor as well. This way you just get the suppleness of the spine to really be long. And just like that power that's in the pelvis of a frog, boop, up, it just comes forward. Draw the body back underneath. Now we're just going to let the pelvis be a little more active in this. Now this is really about the pelvis, not so much about the strength in your arms. Yes, you're going to use your arms somewhat. But now, so I'm really just going to go boom, down to one side with the pelvis, and it's just going to switch, boom. So you really get that action in the spine as you do that. But just try to go down, up, and back through. You see, it's not so much, when you keep that power in the pelvis, it's not so much about the strength in your arms or anything in that fashion. Things just start to move through you, and you feel how beautiful and supple you get as you do these kind of things. When you start to create this great movement inside of you, things just open up and they flow. Good flowing elements. Sweet. Okay. Just draw this body in momentarily. Just come back in. And let's come into a sitting position for a moment. I'll be right back. Cheers. Salute to everyone. Now just a little extension of your body. Let your legs extend. Just try it out. Take a little walk with your sit bones. Just take a little walk with your sit bones. Forwards and backwards. Remember that little walk with your sit bones helps that subtle tuck of the spine inside of the pelvis. Now, just draw one leg in this fashion. As you do that, now kind of subtly walk towards this leg a little bit. Okay. Now, letting this space be as close to you. Now, mind you, if your body is this way or it's a little wider, the leg has to be out, that's fine. But walk into this space as best you can. Now, lift the arm that's on that side of that leg and extend in. Now, reach way inside of this. Now, just start to loop this arm back into this leg. As you loop that arm back into this leg, stretch forward. Try to get the hip joint on that side. That's why this leg is tucked, but it frees you up to glide down the other side. Now, mind you, some of you have that dexterity in your arms and your shoulders. You can reach all the way around and connect your hands with each other. So if that's what you choose to do. Now remember also, in breathing, when we have something really moved, really close to us, breath has this option of moving so differently in your body. And that arm, if it's behind you or even encouraging it, let the breath feel as if it's going now. The lungs are expanding towards the back side of your body, rather than trying to always expand towards the front. And now, when that's ready to release softly, just easily draw it out. Now leave this leg in. Let the arm that's now on this side of the leg just easily roll back in this fashion. Remember, try not to turn with that shoulder. Now let that arm extend if it needs to. It can be behind you, but now loop across. This spinal twisting. Now lift the spine up nice and tall and rotate inside of this leg. Try to keep lifting. So each inhaling breath just carries you far, far up. And the exhaling breath, you just, whoa, you slide through this space. Remember, the head. Okay, so many times here's this illusion. The head wants to see where you're going, so it pulls you. Let it move from the base of your spine. So try to keep your head and your heart connected with each other. So basically this way the whole spine gets the gift. So many times we feed our head. And maybe a little later we'll talk about what that creates. Now, when it's ready, easily just walk this back around. Here it comes back in. The other side, now walk, tuck, tuck, tuck. Get a good little tuck if you can. So you feel it's as close to you. Like I said, some of you, the way that your body fits, it may have to be wider, it might have to fall out, but just find out where you fit best. Lift the arm that's on that side and feel as if you're already dropping in somewhat as you do that. And then feel as if you just loop around. And then there's this subtle press and brace into this leg as you just move away from that subtle press. And like I said, if you have the dexterity and you want to bring the other arm all the way behind you, feel free to do that. But once again, as we move forward, remember, so many times we want to move with that chin as well. Try to keep that suppleness of the head with the body. So many times that chin pull is really just a separation of the head from the body. There's these subtle messages that all of them go on inside of you. So once again, try to keep that integration intact. When it's ready, it just easily draws around. As it draws around, here we are, it's just in that fashion. Here goes this arm back. And it is really one of the things about this leg here already. If it's close to you, let it keep this shoulder so that it doesn't just slide inside of it, so the shoulder has a movement point of actually just rotating back. And then reach across. Up, up, up. Good length. And then softly. Feel the base of the spine begin to move. And let the head just relax. Sometimes it's so good to give the head time off. It gets filled with so many things sometimes, but just letting it relax on top of the body. And let the body move below it. It's sending messages up above. This way the mind gets this opportunity to integrate with the body and just relax. Just beautiful breath. So that inhaling breath lifts you. Exhaling breaths flow with them, so it takes you back through. And then it's easily, just subtly, back forward. Now as we come back forward, then just easily let the legs come out, and they're just going to open up somewhat. Now just in that good opening, we've created space. If you have a little more flexibility, they can certainly flare out more. Okay. But just feel as if you're now. We're just going above this from side to side. But try to keep it as side things. You're not falling down into the center yet. But just kind of create this subtle rotation so you're getting good undulation underneath that subtle arching effect. And try to keep your sit bones, knowledge in your sit bones, so that the foundation stays underneath you. Try to keep good knowledge inside of that. Now, as we do this, one arm, the side we're moving towards, that arm is going to come out. The other arm is going to come up. Now really lift up. Really lift up in that center. Keep the sit bones rooted and really stretch over this space. And let this arm that's away from you not push back into your body, but let it keep crawling away the further over you go. And the subtlety with that head, if it wants to turn into your armpit, let it do that. And only do that if there's no compression. If that shoulder is pushed in, you can feel that compression pushing in. But if the head has all this movement, things are open, centered. Here we go, we have this elongation. Let it lift you and just draw you into space. Down it goes, that becomes your touch point. Lift, lift, lift first. Don't just go, lift. So you find this essence of this side's coming under that arching effect and this side coming over. The element of that arch, one side feeds the other, so it gives it that gift of more expansion. That intelligence in your body is, nature mimics all of that intelligence all the time. We just have to actually recognize it. And here we go. We're up. And just relax that space. Now just from your easy center body, just move through this space. Just easily move through this space. Just flow. Just this flow of just flowing through this space. And then when you reach this upper time, then just the other way. Find your flex points. Just find your flex point. Try not to make it in the spine, but try to let it happen in the natural flexation, the natural waistline that happens flexing over the pelvic region of your body. So many times we round into shape instead of just flowing over shape and extending over that shape. Now here we are in that center spot. Now here when I come back up into the center spot. Now mind you, just gauge this if this wants to open up a little more. But now, just let yourself kind of walk down as best you can in this space. And mind you, always remember that point in your legs, that's a relaxing point for you if you need it, is the knee joint. So just let the knees just kind of come up. That releases any tension that's in your legs. Sometimes if you're at home, sometimes you can actually just take a blanket. If forward bending is hard for you, you can roll a blanket up underneath this as well. So that allows you to actually not push so much pressure into your legs sometimes and get so much strain as you're welding inside of it. Now, as I'm laying forward in this, I'm letting the spine be long. I'm letting that head relax on top of that rather than the chin pulling forward. Head is relaxed. Now, I'm just going to take my hands and walk them towards one leg. As I reach that leg, the arm that's on that side is just going to come over, and now just extend over that leg, and you're actually just letting the rib cages rotate and spin on top of the pelvis as you do that. Now try to stay active in sit bones rooted, so you're staying active in this other leg as well. Now a little more for some of you, if you wish, take the trailing arm and reach out to the outside of that leg, and if you wish, rotate down and into that space. Just monitor in your own body where your limitations are. And remember that breathing aspect, even in the first class that we had in the semester. You want that parasympathetic nervous system to be alive inside of your system. That you always know you're safe where you are, and that gives you that allowance to actually be safe and to move and expand from that safe space. Now just easily drawing back through that. Come back into that center spot. Find this easily for yourself. Once again, just find it and just see if there's a little more in you from your flexibility standpoint. And remember, always let the knees relax if you need to, legs out. Now, just walk towards the other leg when you're ready. Just let the body turn with that walking of the hands and the arms. Now when you reach that space, try to lay into that space, and there's a subtle twisting action in the center of the body that transpires as you do that. And if you want to take that trailing arm, let it extend that side of the body a little more through you, and you'll feel this beautiful extension out of the shoulders. It relieves a lot of tension from the shoulders as well. And then with that extension, it gives you space to rotate underneath it. Remember, when we want to use another part of our body, it tends to want to pull things into that shape. Remember, keep rooted so you keep that expansion happening. Muscles get the dexterity of knowing that they can move in different directions rather than always just going where you want to go. Have a home base. Usually in the way that you create expansionism, have this home base. That's what the foundations of poses are really created for. And when it's ready, it just easily draws you right back in. As you come back into the center spot, just easy, draw back in. Walk this space in. Just good long spine. Just this subtle balance, you let the shoulders relax down. So there's not this strong grip just to hold you in space. And then just ease back. So you have this balancing effect. Legs are up, spine is long. Remember, try not to push through the belly so that you're pushing pressure into the base of the spine. Stay up and as elongated as you can. Now take one leg up. Now if you can, now when that leg goes up, try not to touch your toes so it's pushing way back into you. Just have it so the leg can extend as much as it can. Now, let the leg come out. Try to keep that center balance with you as you do that. That calmness inside, leg comes back in. And it just becomes a switch. Notice that when you switch or you add movements, does it disturb what you've already created? Or do you just stay with it? Just build upon what you've created rather than pushing through or trying to actually, and when it's ready, just let it open. And easily back in. Softly back in. Walk easily back into this space. Now we're just going to do something a little bigger with our legs and our hips. Now, letting the feet extend out in front of you, and now just come down onto your backs. Just come down onto your backs. Now, and the arms are just going to actually be in this big platform position, so they're just nice and extended. Now, and the legs, you can pull them into you and then stack them. But just remember, find that good subtle flatness in your spine, so you have that good flat position underneath, so you can really stack up above. Now, as you do that, then just wiggle the hips underneath the space. Now we're just going to kind of create some subtle whirlwind effect with our legs in this fashion. So now I'm just letting the legs come down and through like this. I'm letting them come down and through like. Some people are going to have their legs folded. Just do the best you can. But just let them be as extended as they can and swing as best they can. And let the swings get a little wider if you can. Now this next time that you swing down to one side, see if you can actually keep the legs extended and stay down to that side somewhat. Keep working that upper body so it's a platform for you, so that you have a space to really let that spine work. Now, with the legs out there, now mind you, some of you are going to have to fold these or let them drop down a little bit. Do the best you can. Now, we're going to leave the bottom leg extended and bring the top leg up and over us. Keep extending out of this bottom leg as best you can and extend up and over the top leg. So we're really trying to get this space across the pelvis to be really wide open, space between the legs as well. Now, the beauty about bringing this up sometimes is that you don't have to use so much strength. We always tend to yank and pull. There's all this muscle action. Just let the center body fold down towards the floor. And it asks the legs to just come back into that position right over. Then just let the legs fold down into you before we go to the other side. Just going to make those loops once again. And we're just going to try to let the loops now be in the opposite direction if you can remember where we went the first time. So just start that direction going in the opposite direction this time. And let those loops just build. Now remember, some of you are going to have fold your legs. Depends on this extended strength. Remember, we try to get that extended strength inside of your system. So everything gets strong and links together rather than pushing back into something. Now, as we get over to this opposite side, and that swing down, try to keep that expansion in that fashion. Try to keep it just momentarily at least, but try to work with that upper body as well. Momentarily. You get this strength that just emanates through your body in these elongated positions. Now, here comes that top leg. It's just going to come up. Now, try to keep this bottom leg really active as well. So you're really getting this space to open up in that center. If you spend a lot of time in this sometimes, you feel how the pelvis is suddenly rolled open to a direction. And the more that you keep working it, it starts to settle and flatten out underneath you. And now, center body just relaxes and we come. Now from here, soft, fold in, happy baby pose. Just that beautiful opening of that pose that just expands and opens. Just this beautiful things, to let things really, now just this pose is so fascinating in its own, in its simplicity. The babies are such the best teachers in the world. Is they just let space open so you can fit through space, rather than being taken so much by space. Yes, their bodies are a little more nimble than ours, but that's part of the great teaching. Now, when you're ready, easily, the legs just easily come up. Soft fold. And as those feet start to drift towards the floor, let the legs extend and boom, just let yourself sit with those legs. We've done that gliding effect in our sit-ups before, and that's what we're really after. So you're not really having to put all those muscles under tremendous, tremendous position. Right. Hey, a little more activity in our legs, and then we're going to come back to a sitting position to really get our pelvis open. Now, I'm just going to swing around. Now, as I do that, I'm just going to let one leg come forward. So as that one leg comes forward, and then I'm going to find this good position right here between the knee and the foot. Remember that essence of the knee over the ankle joint. Now, you see this position of my back knee being down. Some of you are going to keep it that way if that's what works best for you. But now, some of you, if you can, you're going to come up. And that foot can turn out for you if it wishes, or it can stay directly forward for you. I'm just going to leave it up to you, whichever feels best for you. Okay. Now, you see I'm kind of resting on top of this initial leg. So now the arm that's on the side of the bent leg, I'm going to bring that inside that leg. Now, some of you like the looping effect, so you can just do it from here if you wish, but some of you with that looping effect, we go all the way through. And then just see if you can elongate from that back leg and just lay long. Remember, we're not trying to push back in, we're trying to elongate over this pose. So elongate as best forward as you can. Just do the best you can. Beautiful work for the pelvis, beautiful work. Now, as you're ready, and the spine, bring this back in. Now, as I come back in, I'm just going to actually do something else with this. Now, depending on this back leg, it can turn out, be a little wider stance if you wish. So it's a little wider of a stance. Now, and you see the way that this arm is, or it can be up like this, but I'm bending like this, and I'm opening this pose up. So I'm really expanding up and bracing. Now, here's this essence for some of you. You like that little loop, underarm loop through, and the other arm back through. So as you do that, okay, just connect the arms through that space. But try to stay elongated over that leg and twisting over it as best you can, rather than just laying on it. So you get good expansion Just beautiful work for your spine. Now as I'm ready to come out of that, back up and back over. Now just check your stance once again, because if you're on your knee, remember you can always come down on your knee. If that stance needs to widen a little bit more for you. Okay. Now here comes, it's a subtle balancing thing. So now what I'm going to do is kind of lift up, and this one arm is going to kind of be on this leg somewhat. Now I'm going to release that and take this other arm across, and I'm going to bring my hands into what they refer to as the prayer position. And now that arm that's connected to that leg is going to be sort of a subtle brace, and I'm going to rotate the lower rib cage towards that space. These deep rotating positions, once again, breathe, breathe, breathe. Now, as I'm ready, soft releasing open. Now, as I release this last time, let this front leg just softly, let the hip joints come back into you so you get this subtle stretch and elongation into the front leg. And as I'm ready, that leg now just comes back. Now, if you want to just do a brief downward facing dog in this, just let the downward facing dog be brief. Now remember how we've worked with that before. The body has this subtle momentum of working forward. You're not just throwing the leg forward, but it's the last thing that drops, remember? So you let the, almost as if it's an elongated momentum plank pose, and then boom, here comes that leg forward with it. Remember, you're not just throwing the leg. Beautiful work, beautiful work. Here we are, we're ready. Now if that back knee wants to come down for some of you, let that happen. So here I am. That arm now comes inside. And just dip. The body's already long from the way it came forward in the plank pose. It's already in plank. We're just changing the way that it's working in plank. And if you wish that loop through, sometimes that allows you just a little more space to move down. And once again, breath, breath, breath. Feed, you need to feed what you are creating. Now as I'm ready to move through that, if your arm is on the outside, it just comes back on the inside. And here I am. Now I'm just with this. And you can be up here a little bit if you need to. Some people, just depends on how your body works. But here this arm is inside. And now I just elongate up. Let the body just twist right over that folded leg. Let the arm be expansive and that shoulder girdle relax down into the body rather than pulled back. Let it just be right up above you, so that arm comes right up above you. And once again, here's that little loop through if that works for you. Just feel your breath move. Feel the way that your body just integrates. And now as that's ready, it just releases back down. Soft releasing back down. Now just notice once again where your stance is for you, if it works. Okay. But what I'm really doing is letting my body rest somewhat over this leg, and then I'm reaching across with the trailing arm, drawing the other arm up, and then rotating into this space. Mind you, these are delicate balancing poses as well. They're not only just in that's expansive, but they're delicate balancing poses as well, because you're needing to integrate lots of different things in order to create them. Easy back down. Easy back down. Now as I'm back down, slide right back, downward facing dog. Just in this easy version of downward facing dog. And now, just let the body come forward into plank pose, an easy transition forward into plank pose, and then let the knees come down and rest just briefly in child's pose. That essence of child's pose, just let everything go. The only encouragement in this sometimes is try not to have the knees kind of locked together, but have enough space between that. Have enough space so your body, boom, can fit down inside of the legs. Always just take these beautiful subtle breaks between things as you do that. Now as I start to come out of child's pose, it's just an easy transition. My arms are just going to extend away in front of me, the knees are going to broaden, and I'm just going to go back into frog pose once again. Beautiful transition pose. Roll those shoulders open, soften that head, and elongate all the way through. Feel the activity of your tailbone sometimes. You know, your butt sticks way up in the air, but feel when you tuck that tailbone, whoop, how it comes back in line with your body. And what that really does, it helps align and move things long through the center of your body. Keeps the face of that body nice and intact right underneath you. Now, here we come. Boop. Easy up we go. Here I am once again. Now, as I'm back here, now, we're actually just going to create cow pose. And this involves a little bit of activity out of our hips. And we're going to just do one little thing on our backs before we come back into that. Now, we've done half of that by having our arms crossed up before, but now we're just going to do that coming down onto our backs. Now, as I do that, now the legs are going to come up and out. Now, one leg is going to come on top of the other, and then just kind of let the knees kind of come together, fold the legs down. Now, and you can reach up and try to find your feet. Let the upper body kind of come up if you need to. Let it fold, come up. Now, try to expand the legs. Try not to let them hang down into you, but lift them up so they're kind of coming out of the knee joints in that respect. Now, let the upper body relax if it can. And now just feel as if you're opening the space up wide. And you can draw those legs a little towards you if you wish, but this is really one of the things. Try not to push yourself into you, but actually the more you draw them into you, try to flatten the hips and the spine out underneath. That just isolates the pelvic region a little more, gives you a little deeper stretch inside of those hips. I know some of you have had sort of difficulty finding your feet. Just do the best you can. If you need a little subtle belt or something that helps you integrate into that, just do that. And now, when I'm ready with that, I'm just going to release up. And just know which leg you had on top, because we're just going to change that. And across we go. Once again, find it where you find where the knees are in space as best you can, to where they come with each other. And then fold down from that. So both legs are just folding, so the knees stay as best they can with each other. And then come up and see if you can find your feet. And then, like I say, try not to have that just hanging effect, but it's more of that lifted, expansive effect, so they come out of the knees. Try to lengthen underneath if you want to. Like I say, integrate this towards you just a little bit. Let it do that. But just integrate things underneath you as well, so that you get expansion over and under. Remember, we use that over and under effect a lot. So you're not just pushing into things. And now as we're ready, just easily up we go. Easily up we go. Just let the legs find that good subtle flatness in your spine, and just let the legs relax above you. Let them fold easily down. And then once those feet touch the ground, just boom, legs expand, and there you go, right with it. Okay. You're just as flowing, boom. Now, here we go. Here we're going to try the sitting element of this pose. We're going to combine shoulders and hips as we do this. Now, initially, I'm just going to do this turned around, and then the second time I'll do it facing. So now, as I'm doing this now, I'm going to use my block for this. Okay. Some people have really loose hips. They don't need something underneath them. But it's always a good thing, because you don't want to drop too far in this. So I'm just going to keep this block available to me to when I need to bring it in. But I'm just going to be in this space. And this is really, if you want to just kind of loosen this space up and flop around a little bit, just like ya. Just feel as if you can do that. Now, so here I'm going to start this by lifting one leg, and across it goes. Now you see how it flares out. The other leg now is just going to flare out as well, because I want to have enough space here to feel as if my butt can fit down inside of this space. Now, the knees are butted up into each other. Now, I kind of use an approach of this, of that I fold over these legs like this to try to keep my knees somewhat together and then just glide over this space. Bring this block underneath my butt like this, and then I sit. Now, I'm trying to keep the knees as close together as I can. And now, some of you, those of you that have really loose hips, you know, the feet can widen, they can come way out, you know, they can just do what you can do with them. Now remember, this is more about the hips than the knees, so it really is in that fashion of just monitor that for yourself. Now, noticing which leg you have on top. So what I'm going to do now is do something with my arms. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do with my arms is that now, as the arms go out, it's in this fashion. Now, notice that I have my left leg on top right now. So what I'm going to do is that now, the left arm is going to come back behind me, the right arm is going to come up. Now, so really lift. Remember we did this little thing before about moving things towards the center of the spine and then folding from the elbow down and seeing if they can come. Some of you are going to find your hands together, some of you are not. And this is full cow pose. I've always been mystified about how they come up with that name for this pose. That's the English translation. So now, as you see, when I'm sitting up in this, and I'm letting the knees stay close. So you're not going to get the dexterity of the hips, but also the dexterity of the shoulders to work together. And now here it is. I'm just going to make this transition out, up. Now as the arms come down, just transition forward. Now as I make this transition forward, I just release that. I'm just going to do that in the opposite direction this time. Now I had my right leg on top before, so now it's going to be the left leg is going to be the one on top. So here we go. Now as I do that, what's behind? Now boom, I just swing the leg that's going to be behind back behind me. And then once I do that, I just let things flare out as best they can. I just let them flare out. Now, here I start this bend down. So I try to keep the knees close together because that's going to give you the deepest work inside of the pelvic region. And now as I glide back, and now I just try to sit over this space. And one side of your body might feel very different than the other side. And now, it is a fashion of, as you do that, try to sit up as tall as you can. And now, just notice sometimes as if the knees have gone whoop, this big mouth, this like, they're your jaws and they've just opened up. Okay, sometimes if it feels like that way, just come back down over them somewhat. Let them come a little closer together and then see if you can just come back up over that space. Use as much underneath your butt as you need to. Some of you, you'll just go down into it. And as I mentioned before, you can have this flariness aspect of that, but don't overdo this. Now, here we go, opposite. Have the left leg on top, so now the right arm is going to go up and over. It's going to be the top. Back behind. And loop we go. You know, it's always one of those things sometimes that we grimace and strain and do all of these things in a pose sometimes, and you can have a strap or something that goes between your hands if you actually want to create that work in between your hands if you wish. Okay. It is in that element. And just be kind in all of that working element of your system. And some people just sit like this naturally. Now, as it's up and open, just relax, release that, let the arms easily come back down. And just allow yourself to just sit momentarily, just to see. Something I talked about before is about recognizing one side of your body and the other side. Now, this is really one of the things. Just easily when you're ready, just draw the body easily back forward. Now as it easily comes back forward, this is really one of the things about just, it's like, just see how your hips feel by letting them expand in space. Just that little twisting action once again, as they just go. And now just this brief element of this. Now, if you can, just draw one leg forward. And kind of now, feel as if you're sitting up somewhat and draw the other leg underneath you and come into a squatting pose. Now as you come into that squatting pose, remember this is a supported squat if you need your arms underneath you. But as you come into this squatting pose, now feel as if you can let these arms, now some of you, if you have that, you can take the arms and press them out like this. You know, you've really worked with the pelvic region, so to really press them out. So you're just more expansive in your squat. And those internal organs are going, thank you, thank you. Remember, we did a lot of work with those internal organs before. Okay. So practice Nauli if you can. And just remember good contradictions about certain poses that, with Nauli, no pregnancy and no food in the belly. Now, just as we're ready to release from this easily, just draw the arms back behind you. Just kind of let yourself fall subtly towards the arms, just letting them come out of that space. And now we're just going to do a few little things so that the body just kind of has this opportunity for Savasana. You just kind of sit up. Now, let the body now just from here, just easily roll right back. Just let it easily roll right back. Let the legs just come over you in that fashion. So they just come over you as you go back. Now, just from this, just briefly take one leg up. Let it stack. Now let it go out. But in this fashion of it going out, try to let the other leg go this way so you're balancing across the face of the pelvis. Just allow all kinds of space to come in. As we come back in, easily that leg now folds, the other one now extends. And now just gradually as one opens, the other one expands away. Try to keep the essence of, remember, even though you have a long leg, you're keeping the balance of the face of the pelvis underneath you. And then as that comes back in, sweep, open. Now, just take a few things here and just let both legs open. So they just fall open as much as they can. And now if the hands can be connected to them, underneath them, however it is, draw them back in. Out. Just work with your breath. Expansion out. Emptiness in. Now we're just going to, as we've done that, now I just wanted you to take your left leg and extend your left leg all the way out. Now draw the right leg towards you somewhat. Remember, it's this over-under effect rather than down into you. Okay. So try to just use good common sense about that movement. And you can be a little wider. That leg can fall open this way if it wishes. Okay. Just let it stay over you in that respect. Draw it up, but slide under this space. As you're ready, up we go. And now just switch the legs in space. The other one now folds over, the other one just lays nice and long. Try to keep the leg that you're letting go and as you extend it, keep it nice and long underneath you. So it keeps the base of the spine long and nice and svelte inside. And just draw up towards you rather than so much in, that strong in towards you. And it can broaden out if it wishes. Try not to just roll with it, try to stay open. So as you're opening, you continue to create space for every movement. And as it's ready, it just easily draws back in. Now, just let the other leg join. easy access of just coming back and in there, underneath and inside. Now both legs are kind of in that center body over you. Now just let them fall as open as they can. Now just begin to let the lower legs lift and happy baby pose. Arms come in between, open. Nice, long, broad pelvic opening. So the spine just has all this space to work itself through. So much activity in a lot of the poses that we've done. I've put a lot of stuff, a lot of squeezing in the tissues, so there's a lot of things in your bloodstream. So aligning the eliminatory channels in your body is really very important. So things move through you. Hydration is also one very important element of that. So now once again, as you're ready, just let the legs now come right up above you just briefly. Now as they softly fold down towards you, okay. Now just let the legs and the feet be on the floor so that the knees are kind of up towards the ceiling right now. Now just feel as if the hip joints just give the legs permission to just, and the hip joints just do nothing as well. So you slide out and you notice that the legs just fall open. Natural position for Savasana. Same way in the shoulders, in that element, just boom. They fall open. And some of you I know have different positions for that. Sometimes if the back is a little bit of an issue, this can be one of the other transitions for that. Otherwise, we have that element of going up against a wall where the legs are up above you, or that beautiful essence of a blanket rolled underneath the spine as well. So now, just have that choice for yourself. Choose the one that actually gives you the most release. And really just allows you to not deal with anything that's transpiring inside. So that you can just go with your breath and that prana that comes in through the breath just totally feeds what happens. And when that outer shell of the working body actually opens, you let that softness, that silence of the inner body really come alive. So it actually has this great opportunity to mingle and mix with the outer body. So the outer and inner bodies really become this great unification inside of you. And just let your breath be in harmony with that whole interaction for you. Taking this time to actually really just feed sort of that deep internal self many times. We're so busy sometimes on the external part that we forget about what the deep needs are inside of you. This is one of the ways to tap into that essence. Learning to be quiet. And just notice the essence of the mind with the body. The body's just giving this beautiful message to the mind, just by its position, just by its element of the breath. It's just a great invitation for the mind to join. Just be with it as best you can. Things come in, things go out. Just return to your basic foundation of yourself. just subtle points sometimes that try to find that sweet spot in your nostrils. So you don't have to pull anything in, just let things happen naturally. It's such a natural place for things to occur. You know, there are many types of baths in life. This is really one of the ways that you just give yourself this internal bath by breath. And when the body is open and unobstructed, the fluidity of how things move through you. Oh, yes. Relaxing every part of you. And so many times we have this tension sometimes it's in that center body. Notice if anything is squeezed in, but just the soft essence of. If you've ever taken leg muscles sometimes and just have the leg bent and just tap on the calf muscle, you see how relaxed muscles just truly relaxed they can be before they're engaged in activity. Just that unobstructed flow of the inner fluids in your body is really vitally important. So that every part of you gets touched. Some parts might feel more vital than others, it's just up to you. And just thank yourself in many ways for just giving yourself this sort of gift that you've engaged yourself in, and this true giving of yourself and the way that you go about that. And just with your next few breaths, just feel as you start to stay connected to that soft inner body. And just start to recognize the room once again, good consciousness of what's around. And if any little subtle movements come into that interaction, just let things happen, whether it's playing of the hands or the arms or however those things work. Then just take this soft, integrated thing, just ease over to your side. Just take that fetal position and just let yourself relax even more sometimes into that place. No rush or no hurry to come back. We're just going to come up to sitting and let things end just in their own way. And try not to jerk or yank yourself in space. The nervous system has these great transition points in it. And when you give it sort of great subtle breaks, try not to actually activate it suddenly, but integrate. So when it just feels right, just let yourself come up, open, and come to a sitting position if you wish. And I just want to send this out to you kids. Many blessings during all of this time and everyone that you're associated with and all those around you. So thanks for helping me be alive as well. Okay. So namaste. Be happy. Be well. Okay. Pleasant journeys.